Amid the ongoing Black Lives Matter protests, some corporations are making it known that they're taking steps to promote social justice. But as the Washington Post points out, corporate America, including Wall Street and Silicon Valley giants, is now pledging to play a bigger role in combating systemic racism across the U.S. But an examination of companies' track record shows they have repeatedly stopped short of major overhauls during prior opportunities for change. For more, we are happy to welcome a giant of the philanthropic world, Darren Walker. Happens to be president of the Ford Foundation, also happens to be a board member of the e-commerce firm Square. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you very much. And I was thinking back tonight, I saw on Instagram the words Black Lives Matter sent to me by a skincare company. I saw one from a sock company. In the real world, however, how, in your view, should the private sector pressure test their virtue?
Thank you, Brian, for having me. First, let me state a fact, and that is that corporate America has failed Black America. And in order for us to fully address the systemic racism that exists within corporate America, we're going to have to move beyond tokenism to transformation. We're going to have to ask, why are there so few African Americans on board, in C-suite, on operating at the highest level? Why is access to capital so difficult for Black businesses? These are fundamental issues that corporate America is going to have to address. And the old playbook of dealing with the crisis that involves African Americans is very straightforward. It goes like this: issue a statement with some nice platitudes, organize a conference call with a group of African Americans, apologize, make a couple of grants to the UNCF and the Urban League, and get back to work. That playbook will not work on this occasion.
What about the phrase that we hear that those of us in the real world and who have been in the working world for a while know happens to be true, and that is that a diverse workforce really does make you better, and it makes you much more able and much more nimble to navigate the working world of the year 2020. How do you drill that into the people you deal with?
That is not new information, Brian. We have had research for years demonstrating the efficacy of diversity as a way of improving the bottom line. And yet, we have found it difficult for corporations to do their part to actually demonstrate that idea in practice. The reason, quite candidly, is because of racism. And that is not to say that all corporations are racist and that corporations are bad institutions. It's simply to say, in many ways, corporations reflect American society more broadly. And in order for us to make the kind of progress we need to make, we're going to have to be intentional. We're going to have to actually develop scorecards, do the things that corporations know how to do, and that is deliver on target and goals, and insist doing that. So I'd like to see boards hold CEOs accountable to actually make quantifiable objectives. And when those objectives are not met, folks don't get their bonus.
Imagine that. Final question, something that I know is near and dear to your heart. To put it in plain English, a lot of charities are hurting. A lot of nonprofits are hurting during this gut punch of a period for our nation. What can you do about it?
Well, I think what we in philanthropy at places like the Ford Foundation can do is do more than we normally do, which is to pay out the required 5%. At the foundation, we're actually doubling what we're paying out to above 10%. And that's being made possible through an innovative social bond that we this last week issued of $1 billion, which is going to make it possible for us to pay out in excess of $1 billion a year for 2 years. This is a critical time for the nonprofit sector in America. We depend on nonprofits to do so many things in our society, and they are at risk. They're at risk because of the fallout from COVID. They're at risk because corporate sponsorship are evaporating. They're at risk because their theaters are dark. The museums are closed. Revenue is not coming in. And yet these institutions are critical to our democracy. They are critical to providing homeless services, providing Head Start programs, and all of the things that constitute our civil society. So as America, we cannot be America without a strong civil society. So the work of philanthropy is to do more, to step up, to be creative, to be bold, and not sit back and do what we normally do, which is allow a crisis to pass and use that old playbook. We need to throw out the playbook. We've got to develop new plans, and those plans have to be creative and bold.
Darren Walker, please come back on our broadcast with us. Great pleasure to have the president of the Ford Foundation with us during this time for our country. Another break for us.